So I've been a teacher in Japan now for about 30 years, and I don't mean to criticize, but there are a handful of things that I wish Japanese schools would just do differently. As an ALT, you won't always have control over these things, but I'd recommend that you do what you can to ameliorate the bad effects of these 8 things that I wish the Japanese schools would do differently, and here's my list. So let's get into it. Thing number 1, complaint number 1, I wish they'd stop using contractions. Contractions are ubiquitous from the 3rd grade of elementary school, but contractions hide important information, critical information. If you say, I'm James, for example, the verb is hidden. The am, which is incredibly important and students need to be aware of, is hidden behind the I, as I'm. And if you say, I don't like natto, well, the not is almost completely invisible here, kind of crunched up with the do, so it's don't. In any case, at a minimum, my advice to you is mix in uncontracted forms so that students understand what it is. When you do use a contraction, students understand what it is that's being contracted. My second wish is that teachers would explain at least a little bit of grammar even to the elementary school students. It's important for the students to recognize what the subject of a sentence, who or what you would attach the wa or the ga to if it were Japanese, when translated into Japanese, and where the verb goes, and the importance of word order. These are critically important things, but they're never taught explicitly, particularly to the elementary school students. I think it's worth teaching what the subject of a sentence is, where it is, and where the verb is in the sentence. You're not supposed to, and I'm not suggesting that you break the rules as an ALT, but gee, wouldn't it be a better world if we were allowed to teach a little bit of grammar, just a touch, just the bare necessities of the grammar, even to the elementary school students? Wish number 3, I wish that teachers at all levels would put more effort into the construction of questions and negatives. I've talked in other videos about this, but given a sentence like, Tom has a car, for example, students, particularly in at the junior high school level, should be able to automatically make the question version, the yes-no question of that sentence and the negative. So, Tom has a car. Does Tom have a car? Tom does not have a car. This should come automatically, and it usually doesn't. And that's because it's not really taught explicitly. So I wish teachers, JTEs and ALTs would put more time and effort into this particular skill. Wish number 4 is I wish teachers, JTEs, and ALTs alike would spend a lot more time reviewing. This is particularly the reviewing of vocabulary, because it's very easy to teach a lot of vocabulary in a particular lesson, a particular unit, and then move on to the next and just never go back, never touch that vocabulary again. It should be noted here that grammar points usually come up, once they're introduced, these tend to come up in future lessons automatically. But the vocabulary doesn't always. So it's really it really pays dividends to go back and just do some more drilling activities, games and other activities to review, to refresh the students' memories about the vocabulary that they learned in previous units. I wish they'd do this. Wish number 5 is more than a wish. It's like a demand. This needs to change. We need more listening in the English classroom. There are all sorts of listening exercises you can do. You can listen and choose from ABC, for example. You can fill in blanks in a sentence. You can write full sentences. You can choose true, false. Basic listening activities where the students listen to some English and they respond in some way, answer in some way. This is like weight training, okay? This is muscle building, and you got to do the reps. It's been my experience, and again, this is for 30 years, that a lot of teachers, JTEs particularly, if I'm being honest, they tend to sort of drone on and on about English. They teach about English without actually giving the students enough listening. So again, listening exercises, this is the weight training. This is the muscle building of the English classroom. Teachers, JTs, ALTs should spend much more time doing these listening exercises, I feel. No, I demand. Wish number 6 is that the JTEs would stop trying to teach entirely in English. Here's the thing. When the teacher teaches entirely in English, that becomes an excuse then not to do other listening activities, not to pass the baton to the ALT and have them speak all English, not to play some CD problems or some Aiken problems. So it's an excuse not to do proper listening activities because they think that the students are getting enough English because, hey, I'm the JT and I'm speaking English, aren't I? 2 things should be noted here. One is that most JTEs can't really do it. They think they're doing it, but they can't. They'll say something, a few sentences in English, and then in order to reconfirm that with the students, they'll say the same thing in Japanese. And when they fall into this pattern of saying something in English and then repeating it in Japanese, the students pick up on this and they understand at some level that they don't have to listen to the English because the teacher's going to say it in Japanese in 30 seconds anyway. We should also note secondarily that teaching a 45, 50-minute class entirely in English, it's incredibly hard. It's hard for the ALT, and many ALTs, that's all that they actually speak, but you have to consider how and what you're writing on the blackboard very carefully, which words you're going to choose, expressions, phrases you're going to choose. It is very, very hard for any teacher, JTEs particularly, to teach entirely in English. If a teacher can get away with it, can actually pull it off, great, wonderful, okay, fine. Most teachers can't, and I think most teachers, frankly, JTEs, I think they shouldn't even try. Wish number 7 is that the school system, JTEs particularly, would sort of de-emphasize the free talking that they have the students do. This is where they put the students in pairs and they give them, for example, 2 minutes. Okay, just talk with your partner freely, go. This is often an excuse for the teachers not to actually teach anything. It's very easy to just tell the students, hey, just do some free talking. It means that you, the teacher, don't have to do anything. You don't have to prepare anything. It seems very cutting edge, very modern, because historically, back in the day, there was none of this, absolutely. I'm not saying it should be eliminated totally from all of your classes. Again, as a target, as an end goal, it's a fine target, a fine end goal. But much of the quote-unquote free talking that goes on in the classroom, I would argue, should be replaced with more listening and more drills. But again, listening exercises, preparing drills, this requires more preparation on the part of the teacher, JTE and or ALT. So it's not quite as easy as it sounds. It's a little more effort, but yeah, a little less of that, the free talking, please. Wish number 8 is that teachers would generally do more old school grammar drills in the class. Grammar drills are the pumping iron. They are the weight training, the muscle building of the English class, or they should be. So here's what I like to do in my classes. I will give the students a particular statement. For example, you have a guitar, and the students need to make yes, no question and negative from that sentence. So you have a guitar, students say, do you have a guitar? You do not have a guitar. And in this case, notice that I don't use, or I don't let my students use contractions, which again, I talked about earlier in this video. If you say you don't have a car, it's not clear where exactly the not is hiding. So you do not have a car. Excuse me, you do not have a guitar, I think I said earlier, in any case. So yeah, more basic drilling of grammar structures, such as tense or singular plural or questions or negatives or like that. So those are my 8 wishes when it comes to the teaching of English in Japan. As an ALT, I would recommend that you do what you can to kind of fill in these gaps, make some improvements here. Sometimes we don't have as much control as we might like in the classroom, but be aware of these problems anyway. And who knows, maybe they'll change in the future. I really love making these videos. If you have any questions or, of course, comments, leave them down in the comments, and I do my best to answer any questions that are down there. Thank you again very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Thanks again.